video. So what I thought I would do today is talk about permanent hair removal. I know that a lot of people who have unwanted hair think, what is the best way to remove this hair? So that's what I'm going to talk about today. I've been doing electrolysis for a little over 30 years. And I've also had laser hair removal, and I did take a laser hair removal training class. So I do know a lot about both, and I can help you with trying to determine what method works best for you. So I'm going to give you just a little bit of history on myself and how I got into doing electrolysis. Well, I was a client before I was an electrologist. In high school, I had some fuzz on my face that I really didn't like, so I started removing it. And the more I removed it, the worse it got. It just seemed like, I did Nair, so I just kind of melted all the hair off my face. And then before I knew it, I started to wax, because I heard that if I waxed, eventually it would go away, which was absolutely not the truth. And then I would tweeze in between the waxings. And so before I knew it, I had this horrible, horrible hair growth on my face in the areas that I was removing it. It was dark, coarse, and it grew in on a daily basis, which was absolutely devastating for me. So fortunately for me, I was referred to a really great electrologist, and she totally fixed my face. And then I decided to go to school for it, because she suggested that I go to school, and it was really great because I know what it's like to pay for it, and I know what it's like to have the procedure done and what it feels like, and anything like that. So for me, it was just a lifesaver. So not only did I get my face fixed, but I also all of a sudden had my own business, which was really, really great for me. I think a lot of people start, doing things to their hair, and they don't realize that it's going to make it grow in worse. So any type of temporary hair removal that you do, no matter if it's on your face or your body, it's probably going to make your hair grow in darker, longer, and more coarse. So what the thing is what you're going to want to do is, if you're going to have any type of hair removal, you might as well have it permanently removed. So the two types of permanent hair removal are electrolysis and laser. They are both permanent. Electrolysis is definitely permanent because I can cherry pick each hair that I'm going to remove and basically surgically remove each hair. Where laser is a light, it's not a needle. And so laser, they call it permanent hair reduction because it can't kill anything but really dark hairs on lighter skin. So it'll kill all the dark hairs, but whatever hair isn't dark enough to kill, it won't. So that's why they call it permanent hair reduction. So depending on the type of skin you have, depending on the type of hair you have, and depending on the area that you're looking to do, will determine what method works best for you. In my opinion, I think electrolysis is the best method for permanent hair removal on your face. The majority of the people that come to me, will have some random coarse hairs on their chin because they've been taking some hormones, or maybe they started tweezing or waxing and didn't realize that it was gonna, make the hair grow in worse. Or you can shape your eyebrows, or you can thin out some long fuzz on your face if you want to, or do some hair on your upper lip. So it's a really great method for your face because you can individually remove each hair and make it look like what you want it to look like. So the reason that it works and why it's permanent is basically what I do, just if you look at this diagram, is I insert a needle into the hair follicle. And at the base of each hair follicle is a little reservoir of blood. So the hair feeds off of that blood source. So when I insert the needle into your hair follicle, I hit a foot pedal and it sends a little blast of heat in it. It's a little current, and what it does is it cauterizes those capillaries. And when it does that, it releases the hair. So when I go to remove the hair slides out like it has oil on it with no resistance at all. But when you tweeze or wax or thread, anything that pulls your hair out, what happens is when you pull it, it ruptures those capillaries and it makes more blood flow into your hair follicle. So that's why your hair gets darker and coarser and more, terminal, as they call it. So removing your hair, tweezing, waxing, and threading are really, really bad. And waxing is actually the worst, because not only does it pull out the hair that you didn't want, the unwanted hair, but it pulls out all the little tiny fine ones that never bothered you before. And all of those become worse. And that's why people get a lot of hair growth on their chin if they're waxing, or underneath or on the sides. And then they have a ton of hair because the wax pulled out all of the hairs and accelerated the hair growth for all of those hairs. So what I do is I take a needle and I insert it into the hair follicle right alongside the hair shaft, so the hair is actually my guide. The hair follicle is just a pore in your skin, basically. It's a pocket. So at the base of each hair follicle is a little reservoir of blood. So each hair follicle has blood feeding into it. So that's what the hair feeds off of. So when I insert the needle into your hair follicle, I hit a foot pedal and it sends a little blast of current, and what the current does is it cauterizes the capillaries so that those capillaries can't feed into your follicle anymore, meaning that the hair has no food source anymore. So when it's been fully cauterized, what it does is it releases the hair. So when I go to remove the hair, I know I've killed it because the hair slides out with no resistance at all. You don't even feel the hair coming out of your skin. So that's how I know that I've actually killed it and it's not going to grow another hair in that same hair follicle. So if you're someone who's currently having electrolysis and you're feeling any type of a pluck when your electrologist is working on you, then it's probably because she's not fully cauterizing the capillaries. So that's something that you do have to, kind of watch out for. You want to make sure that you're not having regrowth of the same hair. It does take a full year for all of your hair to grow because your hair grows in a cycle. So for 100% of your hairs to grow, it's going to take 1 year. So if you start having electrolysis and you go for 3 months and you see, that it's better and you stop, then you're still going to have hair grow because she hasn't killed, all of the hairs that are active. The best thing to do if you think you want to start having electrolysis on your face is to stop tweezing, waxing, or shaving, whatever you're doing to remove it. You don't want to pull it out of the hair follicle. What you want to do is let it grow a little bit, and I know that sounds just horrifying, but it's not as bad as you think. And what you can do is you can cut them very short and save a bunch of them up and then go into your electrologist and have them removed. So if you think that you want to start having electrolysis, you definitely have to stop removing your hair. I think the best method for while you're having electrolysis and leading up to having electrolysis is to just cut the hairs real short with small little scissors and a magnifying mirror, and then before you go in, just let them grow a little bit so the electrologist can see the direction that the hair is growing from, and she can actually treat each hair that you have. The best thing about electrolysis and laser actually is that there's very little downtime. When you have your skin treated with either of them, they're red for about 2 to 5 hours, and then it seems to just pretty much go away, unless you have super sensitive skin. And if you do have really sensitive skin, my personal opinion is I think hydrocortisone 1%, just the over-the-counter hydrocortisone, works really well to help reduce the swelling, the redness, and any irritation. Sometimes people like to use aloe. That's not something that I've used much for post-care, but I know some people use it and they like it. But the hydrocortisone 1% I think works the best for both laser and electrolysis. So the biggest question that people ask is it painful? Yeah, it is painful. It's not horrible, but it's not like getting a facial, I mean, it's something that, you do and that it's gonna make you look better, and, you're gonna have to endure a little bit of pain. But if if you feel like you don't have a very good pain tolerance and you really need something to help you, there are numbing creams online that you can use that really do work. And but you do have to put them on for about 45 minutes to an hour before you have your treatment done. And I would suggest putting some sort of like plastic wrap over it and taping it down so it occludes it, so that the numbing cream can penetrate your skin and not just dry up on the surface of your skin if you don't put plastic over it. But the numbing creams do work if you put them on for long enough, which is about 45 minutes to an hour before your treatment. When you start having electrolysis, you have to stop doing any other form of removal that you've been doing. So you have to make sure that you're letting the hair grow, because you want the growth cycle to take its natural course. And you want to make sure you do it for a year, because that's how long it takes for the growth cycle to be complete. But sometimes it takes even more than a year, because if the electrolysis isn't killing the hair the first time, then you might have regrowth, depending on who you go to. It's just like anything else. Some electrolysts are more skilled than others. Or if you have a real lot of hair and it's hard to keep up with removing everything that you want to have removed each time that you go in for a treatment. So what you need to do is just try to, each time you go in for a treatment, go in for long enough so you can get the area to what you want it to look like when you leave the office. And then wait for more hair to grow and then remove all of those unwanted hairs too. You don't want to leave the office and have hair that you still want removed and then not go back in for it as soon as you can. So to keep up with something like that, if you have a lot of hair, sometimes can be a lot of treatments. But if you really want the result, if you go in and you have it done the way it should be done, then you'll have the result you want. But I think that laser works really, really well for your body. I had my lower legs done with laser and it worked amazing. I mean, whatever hairs that I still had left over, which probably was only 10% of my hair, I just removed with electrolysis. That's what's great about laser and electrolysis. They can work in conjunction with each other. So whatever whatever hair laser didn't kill on your body, then electrolysis definitely can. But it's great for lower legs, bikini lines, underarms, anything that's dark and coarse on your body where there's a lot of hair. Laser can work really wonderfully for that. Laser is also a year-long process. So if you're going to have an area done on your body with laser, definitely know that you're going to have to go in throughout the year. And sometimes even after that a little bit, if it doesn't kill all the hair. But if whatever is left over is lighter hair and it's not dark, it's probably not going to kill it, so that you're probably best just doing it with electrolysis, just finding an electrologist and having her kill that last 10% that the laser couldn't kill. But if you're gonna do laser, make sure that you go in about every 6 weeks and have that area removed again, because otherwise it's one of those things where it's not gonna work unless you do it to completion. It's just like anything else. You have to do it the way it's supposed to be done. And I think sometimes with permanent hair removal, people just sort of think, they see a result and they see that it gets a little bit less and they tell themselves that they're done. I mean, people would come in to me sometimes for electrolysis after 3 or 5 treatments and say, "Oh wow, this is so much better. I think I'm almost finished." And I'm like, "Oh no, you got a ways to go. You got to keep coming in for the year." But people, they tell themselves things and they see the result and they think, "Oh, I'm almost done," and you're not. So it's a year-long process, no matter whether you're doing a laser or you're doing electrolysis. So a lot of people will ask me, how many treatments am I going to need for electrolysis? And unfortunately, it's not as cut and dry as laser is, because laser typically is between 8 to 10 treatments over the course of a year, because you typically go in about every 6 weeks. And you know, I mean, when you go into laser, it treats everything that's there in that area, you know, in a very short period of time, and it removes whatever it can in that area. Where electrolysis, since I'm doing each hair individually, I don't know how much hair you have, and I don't know how much hair I'm going to be able to remove each time you come in, and if you're going to come in for long enough for me to remove everything that you have. So unfortunately, electrolysis is not quite as cut and dry as laser is for how many treatments you're actually going to need. So it's one of those questions that is not a definitive answer. So if you call an electrologist and you ask them that and they say, geez, I can't really give you, an exact amount, it's not because she's not trying to answer your question or trying to lure you into doing something that, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. There is. It's just that you have to just try to do it until it's done, and then you'll be so happy you did, because it really does work. Just get every last hair instead of going back to tweezing. If you have some more hair grow, just go and have an electrolysis treatment. The next question is, for a lot of people, is what does it cost? And with laser, lots of times they'll sell a package to you, so you'll know how much it's going to cost you for 8 to 10 treatments. With electrolysis, you actually pay each time you go in. So typically, a 15-minute treatment is anywhere between $30 and $45. A half-hour treatment is anywhere between $65 to $80. 45 minutes, for electrolysis is typically somewhere between 80 and 100, and an hour is usually anywhere between 100 to 150. Within, the United States, that's kind of what I know. I don't know outside of this country, but I think that's pretty much, the range. So with electrolysis, you pay each time you go in. You don't buy a package like you typically do with laser. Chin up. Hopefully this was informative and you kind of understand a little bit more about the two. Both methods, both laser and electrolysis, are great methods to remove your hair permanently. Laser isn't going to kill anything that's not dark, so that's why they call it laser hair reduction. And like I said, it's the best method for your body. And electrolysis can kill any type of hair on any type of skin and on your face or your body. But it would be silly for you to go in and start an electrolysis treatment on your bikini line, and you've got, hundreds, maybe thousands of hairs, in an area, and do one by one, when you can just go in and have it lasered off. And it would be a lot quicker and a lot less painful, and probably a little bit more cost effective. So typically electrolysis is for your face and laser is for your body. So hopefully you like this video, and if you have any comments, please leave them in the comment box. I love to see what people have to say about my videos, and if you have any questions, I'm so happy to answer them. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, please hit the subscribe button. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. And if you ring the bell, it'll notify you of my next video. And we upload videos every Tuesday. I hope you liked it, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.